Have you ever wondered what happens when privilege meets hard-earned success? When arrogance confronts quiet dignity? This remarkable true story will show you how one moment of disrespect transformed into a powerful lesson about human connection, social assumptions, and invisible struggles we all face. Stay with me for this three-part journey that might just change how you see the people serving you tomorrow. Emma Rodriguez wiped her forehead with the back of her hand, careful not to smudge the makeup that concealed her exhaustion. 6 hours into her shift at the Silver Spoon, her feet ached in ways only fellow service workers could understand. But Emma kept her smile intact as she approached table 12, where a group of 4 businessmen in expensive suits had just been seated. "Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to the Silver Spoon. My name is Emma, and I'll be taking care of you tonight," she said. Her voice warmed despite the cold glance from the man at the head of the table. Maxwell Thornton III barely looked up from his phone. At 52, his tailored navy suit and monogrammed cufflinks spoke of old money and new arrogance. His companions, junior associates from his investment firm, followed his lead, giving Emma only cursory acknowledgments. "Water with lemon for everyone," Maxwell said without asking his companions. "And we'll need a few minutes." His tone dismissed her as efficiently as his words. Emma nodded professionally. "Of course, sir. I'll be right back with your waters." The restaurant hummed with activity around her. Couples celebrating anniversaries, families gathering for birthday dinners, business deals being sealed over appetizers. The Silver Spoon was known throughout the city for its impeccable service and warm atmosphere, a place where everyone from celebrities to everyday workers felt welcomed and valued. As Emma filled water glasses at the service station, Darla, another server, nudged her. "Heads up, table 12 is Maxwell Thornton. He's got a reputation for being demanding and leaving nothing but criticism." Emma just smiled. Everyone deserves good service, Darla, even the difficult ones. What nobody in the restaurant knew, not the kitchen staff who'd worked with Emma for years, not the regular customers who greeted her by name, not even Darla who shared lunch breaks with her, was that Emma Rodriguez wasn't just a waitress. 6 years ago, she had founded Genuine Hospitality Group, which now owned 14 restaurants across 3 states, including the Silver Spoon. Once a month, Emma worked shifts at each of her establishments, no special treatment, serving customers without revealing her true identity. "It keeps me connected to what matters," she had explained to her bewildered financial advisor. "How can I run restaurants if I forget what it feels like to serve?" Back at table 12, Maxwell barely glanced at the menu before ordering the most expensive steak, rare, with specific instructions that Emma committed to memory. His companions followed suit, their orders punctuated with conditional requests. Dressing on the side, no onions, extra crispy. "And we'll have the Chateau Margaux 2015, Maxwell added, choosing the second most expensive wine on the list, a power move Emma had seen countless times. "Excellent choice, sir," Emma responded with genuine appreciation for the wine. She carefully wrote each order, repeating details to ensure accuracy. Throughout the meal, Emma provided attentive service, refilling water before glasses emptied, timing each course perfectly, checking on satisfaction with unobtrusive precision. The dinner progressed smoothly, despite Maxwell's growing loudness as he consumed more wine, his stories about market conquests and business triumphs dominating the table's conversation. "My father always said restaurants are terrible investments," Maxwell announced as Emma cleared their dessert plates. "Low margins, high turnover. Only fools and dreamers get into the business." He laughed, not noticing how his companions shifted uncomfortably. Emma just smiled. "Would you gentlemen care for coffee?" When she returned with a coffee service, Maxwell was recounting his latest acquisition, a struggling chain of family restaurants he planned to strip for parts and flip. Emma poured his coffee with the same care she showed every customer, even as he detailed how he would lay off unnecessary staff to maximize profits. The bill came to $742.83. Maxwell examined it with exaggerated scrutiny before sliding his platinum card into the leather folder without adding a tip on the printed line. When Emma returned with the receipt for signature, he made a show of writing a bold 0 on the tip line. "The service industry needs to understand that tips are earned, not expected," he announced his uncomfortable companions. "Nothing personal," he added to Emma with a condescending smile that suggested it was. In fact, entirely personal. Emma thanked him for coming with the same genuine warmth she'd shown throughout the evening. As the group stood to leave, one of the younger men lingered behind, embarrassment coloring his face. "I'm sorry about that," he whispered, pressing a folded $50 bill into her hand. "You were excellent." "Thank you, but that's not necessary," Emma said, trying to return the money. "Please, take it. I've been where you are." His eyes held a genuine understanding that Maxwell's never would. What the young man could know was that Emma had indeed been where he was, torn between workplace loyalty and personal integrity. She accepted the bill with a nod of understanding that meant more than the money ever could. After they left, Darla approached, shaking her head. "That Thornton guy is unbelievable. Did he really stiff you?" Emma shrugged. "Some people can afford everything except compassion. If I were the owner, I'd ban guys like that," Darla said. Emma smiled mysteriously. Maybe there are better ways to handle it. Some lessons need to be learned, not enforced. As she prepared for her next table, Emma made a mental note to look up Maxwell Thornton III. Not for revenge or public shaming. Those weren't her style. But because tomorrow, Emma Rodriguez would return to her office as the CEO of Genuine Hospitality Group. And as fate would have it, Maxwell's investment firm had recently submitted a proposal to become the exclusive financial advisor for a rapidly expanding company. The wheel of fortune had turned in ways Maxwell couldn't imagine. And Emma, who had risen from a teenage single mother waiting tables to the owner of a restaurant empire, understood something Maxwell never would. True power wasn't displayed in how you treated your equals, but in how you treated those you perceived as beneath you. As she welcomed her next guest with a genuine smile, Emma knew that the Real story was just beginning. The following morning, Emma Rodriguez stepped into the sleek downtown headquarters of Genuine Hospitality Group. Gone were the comfortable black serving clothes, replaced by a tailored charcoal suit that spoke of understated success. Her hair, previously tied back in a practical ponytail, now framed her face in professional waves. The only remnant of last night's Emma was the warm smile she offered to everyone she passed, from the security guard to the executive assistant who handed her a coffee as she entered her corner office. "Good morning, Ms. Rodriguez," said Lydia, her executive assistant. "The partnership committee is meeting at 10 to review financial advisor proposals. I've placed the packets on your desk." "Thank you, Lydia." Emma settled behind her desk, breathing in the familiar scent of the fresh flowers delivered weekly, a small luxury she insisted on, remembering the days when such things seemed impossibly extravagant. Emma's office walls told her story better than any resume. Framed alongside her MBA were photos of her standing outside the first Silver Spoon location, a converted diner she'd purchased with loans, savings, and sheer determination. There was a picture of 16-year-old Emma holding her newborn daughter, Sophia, with a mixture of fear and fierce love in her eyes. And most prominently, a portrait of Emma with her current staff of over 300 employees, many who'd been with her since the beginning. She opened the first proposal folder and immediately recognized the letterhead, Thornton Capital Investments. Maxwell Thornton III's signature sprawled across the bottom of the cover letter, promising unparalleled financial guidance for ambitious growth. Emma leaned back in her chair, the memory of last night's interaction still fresh. She thought of Maxwell's dismissive glance, his performative zero on the tip line, his casual cruelty dressed up as principal. But more importantly, she remembered the young associate's embarrassed kindness and $50 apology. The intercom buzzed. "Ms. Rodriguez, Mr. Thornton and his team have arrived for their presentation." Emma felt a flutter of anticipation. "Please show them to the main conference room. I'll be there shortly." She gathered her notes and walked deliberately through the office. Her path took her past the wall of beginnings, a collection of nameplates and first paychecks from employees who had started as servers, dishwashers, or hosts and risen to management positions. This wall was her most treasured achievement, physical proof that value existed in every position, at every level. When Emma entered the conference room, 5 men in suits stood to greet her. 4 faces were unfamiliar, but the 5th, sitting confidently at the center, was Maxwell Thornton III. His expression remained neutral as they shook hands, no recognition flickering in his eyes. "Ms. Rodriguez, an honor to meet you," Maxwell said with practiced charm. Your growth metrics are impressive for a hospitality startup. Emma smiled warmly. Hardly a startup anymore, Mr. Thornton. We've been serving communities for 6 years now. Of course, Maxwell corrected smoothly. I meant in comparison to the established giants. Your trajectory is remarkable. As Maxwell launched into his presentation, Emma studied him thoughtfully. Here was the same man who had dismissed her just hours ago, now projecting respect and admiration. The difference wasn't in her. It was in his perception of her worth. She noticed the youngest member of the team, the kind associate from last night, sitting quietly at the end of the table. His eyes widened when he recognized her, color draining from his face. Emma gave him a subtle, reassuring nod. Maxwell's presentation was impressive. Charts showing projected growth, strategies for capital acquisition, a 5-year expansion plan that mirrored much of what Emma's team had already developed independently. His delivery was polished, confident, and utterly unaware of the cosmic irony unfolding. We believe in relationship-based business, Maxwell concluded. Thornton Capital doesn't just work for clients. We work with them. Our success is measured by your success. Emma nodded thoughtfully. Relationships are indeed fundamental to success, Mr. Thornton. I couldn't agree more. She paused, allowing a moment to breathe. Before we discuss specifics, I'm curious. Have you dined at any of our restaurants? Maxwell's smile didn't falter. I've heard excellent things about the Silver Spoon. Haven't had the pleasure yet myself. The young associate shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Actually, Emma said, I believe you dined there just last evening. Table 12. The Chateau Margaux 2015. Rare steak with the peppercorn crust on the side. The conference room fell silent. Maxwell's practiced smile froze, then slowly disintegrated as recognition dawned. I make it a practice to work in each of my restaurants regularly, Emma explained calmly. It keeps me connected to our core mission, treating every person who walks through our doors with dignity and respect. Maxwell cleared his throat, professional composure cracking. Ms. Rodriguez, Emma raised her hand gently. No explanation necessary, Mr. Thornton. Your behavior speaks for itself, both as a customer and now as a potential partner. The tension in the room was palpable. The other executives looked confused, while the young associate stared at his hands. I believe, Emma continued, her voice level and kind, that how we treat people when we think it doesn't matter reveals who we truly are. Last night, you thought I was just a waitress. Today, I'm a potential client. The difference is merely circumstantial, but your treatment was worlds apart. Maxwell's face flushed. Ms. Rodriguez, I assure you, your proposal is excellent, Emma interrupted softly. Your number's compelling, but genuine hospitality group partners with people who understand our fundamental value, that every person deserves respect, regardless of their role or status. Emma turned to the young associate. However, I was impressed by the integrity shown by... I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name last night. James Parker, he said quietly. By Mr. Parker, Emma continued. That kind of character speaks volumes about the future leadership potential within your organization. Maxwell's expression hardened, professional mask slipping further. This is highly irregular, Ms. Rodriguez. One personal interaction shouldn't overshadow our firm's exceptional track record. Emma smiled with genuine warmth. On the contrary, Mr. Thornton, in hospitality, we understand that every interaction matters. One meal can define a restaurant's reputation. One server's kindness can transform a customer's day. One moment of disrespect can reveal a character flaw no professional achievement can hide. She stood, signaling the meeting's conclusion. Thank you for your time and your proposal. We'll be in touch with our decision next week. As the Thornton team gathered their materials in awkward silence, Emma approached James Parker. Mr. Parker, I wonder if you might stay behind for a moment? I'd like to discuss something with you separately. Maxwell's expression darkened further, but he could only nod stiffly as he led the rest of his team out the door. When they were alone, James exhaled shakily. Ms. Rodriguez, I want to apologize for showing kindness and integrity. Emma interrupted gently. Never apologize for that. Mr. Parker, I felt Terrible about how he treated you. James said, I've worked food service jobs. I know how it feels. Emma nodded. Many of us do. That's what Mr. Thornton doesn't understand. The invisible connections between people, the shared experiences that build empathy. She gestured to the chair across from her. Tell me, Mr. Parker, are you satisfied working at Thornton Capital? James hesitated. It's a prestigious firm, he said carefully. That wasn't my question, Emma replied with a knowing smile. James looked down. I'm learning a lot, but sometimes the values don't align with mine. Emma reached into her portfolio and withdrew a business card. Genuine Hospitality Group is expanding our internal financial team. Someone with both investment experience and personal integrity would be valuable to us. James stared at the card in disbelief. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you a conversation, Emma clarified. Sometimes the universe gives us glimpses of different paths. Last night, I was your server. Today, I might be your future employer. Life is full of such pivotal moments, don't you think? As James left the conference room, clutching her business card like a lifeline, Emma thought about the strange symmetry of the situation. She had built her company on the principle that every person deserved dignity, not because of what they might become tomorrow, but because of who they inherently were today. And tomorrow, she would return to the Silver Spoon for another shift, not because she needed to, but because it reminded her of a fundamental truth. The distance between serving and being served was much smaller than most people realized. The next evening, the Silver Spoon buzzed with its usual energy. Couples leaning close across candlelit tables, families celebrating milestones, solo diners finding comfort in attentive service and exceptional food. But for Emma Rodriguez, tonight carried a different weight. She moved through the restaurant in her server's uniform, notepad in hand, present in every interaction yet conscious of the larger narrative unfolding. Word had spread quickly among the staff after James Parker had called to schedule a meeting with HR. Darla cornered Emma in the break room, eyes wide with disbelief. Is it true? The guy from Thornton Capital recognized you as the CEO, she whispered. Emma smiled, tightening her apron strings. Life has interesting ways of bringing things full circle. And you're still here, taking orders and serving food? Darla shook her head in wonderment. This is where it all began, Emma replied simply. This is where I remember why we do what we do. The evening progressed smoothly until Emma looked up to see Maxwell Thornton III standing alone at the entrance. He wore casual clothes, a departure from his usual business attire, and his expression lacked yesterday's confidence. Instead, something resembling humility shadowed his features. Carlos, the host, approached Emma. Table 7 just opened up. There's a gentleman asking specifically for your section. Emma nodded, straightening her shoulders. I'll be right there. She gave Maxwell the same warm greeting she offered every guest. Good evening, Mr. Thornton. Welcome back to the Silver Spoon. Ms. Rodriguez, he began. Emma is fine, she interrupted gently. At least while I'm in uniform. Maxwell's discomfort was palpable as he settled into his chair. I won't take much of your time. I just needed to speak with you. Of course. Would you like to see our menu? Emma maintained her professional demeanor. Just coffee, please. He fidgeted with his napkin. Black. When Emma returned with his coffee, Maxwell looked up with an expression she hadn't seen before, one stripped of pretense and performative confidence. I've been thinking about our interaction, he said quietly. Both interactions, actually. Emma nodded, allowing him space to continue. My father built Thornton Capital from nothing, Maxwell said, staring into his coffee. He worked 3 jobs to put himself through business school. Waited tables, actually. He looked up with a bitter smile. Somewhere along the way, I forgot that part of our family story. It's easy to lose sight of our beginnings, Emma acknowledged. That's why I work shifts here, to remember mine. Maxwell took a sip of coffee. James Parker submitted his resignation this morning. Mentioned he'd be joining your financial team. He shows promise, Emma said simply. He does. Maxwell paused. You could have humiliated me yesterday. Made a scene in front of my team. You didn't. Humiliation rarely teaches the lessons we hope it will, Emma replied. It tends to harden hearts rather than open minds. Around them, the restaurant continued its choreographed dance. Servers delivering food, boozers clearing tables, bartenders crafting drinks, all moving in harmony to create something greater than themselves. I built this company on a simple belief, Emma continued, gesturing subtly to the bustling environment. That dignity isn't earned through wealth or position. It's the birthright of every person who walks through these doors, whether they're dining or serving. Maxwell nodded slowly. I've been successful by most conventional measures, but yesterday made me question what success actually means. That's a valuable question, Emma said. One worth exploring. She glanced at her other tables, mindful of her responsibilities. I should check on my other guests. Of course, Maxwell said quickly. I just wanted to apologize for my behavior and to tell you that I'm withdrawing our firm's proposal. You deserve a partner who already understands your values, not one who needs to be taught them. Emma studied him for a moment, seeing beyond the expensive watch and manicure appearance to the man grappling with his own contradictions. Mr. Thornton, if I only worked with perfect people, I'd be running this business alone. She pulled out her order pad and wrote something down, tearing off the sheet and placing it beside his coffee cup. It wasn't a bill, but a time and date for the following week. That's when our partnership committee makes its final decision, she explained. We're considering 3 firms, each with different strengths. I'd like you to come and make a final presentation. Not about financial strategies, but about what you personally bring to this partnership. Maxwell stared at the paper. After everything, you're still considering us? I'm considering the possibility that people can grow, Emma clarified. That sometimes seeing ourselves through others' eyes offers the clarity we need. Before he could respond, Emma was called to another table. By the time she returned, Maxwell had left. In place of his barely touched coffee was a $100 bill and a handwritten note. For the service industry professional who taught me more in 2 days than business school taught me in 2 years. 6 months later, the Silver Spoon had expanded to 3 new locations, with James Parker overseeing the financial strategy that made it possible. And while Thornton Capital hadn't secured the exclusive partnership they'd originally sought, they had earned something perhaps more valuable, a collaborative role in Genuine Hospitality Group's community investment initiative. The program, spearheaded jointly by Emma and, surprisingly, Maxwell, focused on creating career pathways for service industry workers through education grants, management training, and entrepreneurship support. Its first class of 20 participants included dishwashers, servers, and hosts from restaurants throughout the city. On the evening of the program's launch, Emma worked a regular monthly shift at the original Silver Spoon location. As she delivered plates to table 12, now considered something of a legendary spot among the staff, she noticed Maxwell seated there with 4 young people in crisp new business attire. Everyone, she overheard him saying as she approached, I'd like you to meet Emma Rodriguez. She's not just the CEO of Genuine Hospitality Group. She's also the best server in the city. Emma smiled as she set down their appetizers. Just doing my job, Mr. Thornton. These are our new associates, Maxwell explained, part of our revised hiring initiative. Each one started in the service industry. One young woman looked at Emma with undisguised admiration. Mr. Thornton told us your story, how you built all this from a single restaurant. Emma nodded, with a lot of help and a simple philosophy that every role matters, every person deserves dignity, and true leadership means serving others first. That's why all our new associates spend their first month working in restaurants, Maxwell added. To understand the foundation of business isn't just numbers, it's people. As Emma continued her shift, moving between tables with practiced grace, she reflected on the strange journey that had brought her here. The moment that could have ended in bitterness had transformed into something constructive and healing, not through grand gestures or public shaming, but through the quiet insistence that everyone deserved to be seen, really seen, for who they were beyond their temporary roles. After closing, Emma changed out of her uniform and walked through the empty restaurant. Tomorrow, she would return to boardrooms and business strategies. But tonight, she wanted to linger in the space where it all began, where a simple refusal to tip had inadvertently tipped the scales towards something resembling justice. She touched the wall near table 12, thinking about the countless invisible connections between people. Servers and served, employers and employees, past selves and present realities. And she remembered something her grandmother had told her long ago. Life's greatest lessons often come disguised as our most difficult people. How right she had been, and how fortunate that Emma had learned early what had taken Maxwell a lifetime to discover. That our truest character is revealed not in moments of power, but in moments when we think power doesn't matter. As she turned out the lights and locked the door behind her, Emma made a silent promise to herself and to every person who would ever work for Genuine Hospitality Group. Dignity would never be something earned through status or wealth. It would remain the foundation upon which everything else was built. And somewhere across town, a businessman who once thought tips were earned, not expected, was learning that the same could be said of respect. And that sometimes the most valuable lessons come with no receipt, just a quiet understanding that we are all, in different ways, serving each other.